back to Nerdscape Odyssey, Geek Adventures in all forms. I'm Tyler, the Gaming Dad, and what we're going to do today is something just a little bit different. I'm going to do something that I haven't done in 3 months, a book review. This channel started on book reviews, and I know there's a lot of subscribers way back to when I first started that are chomping at the bits for another book review. So here we go. Alright, so let's set the Wayback Machine. I'm not talking about to a time before the sequels of Star Wars, or even the prequels, or even before your dad's favorite movie, A New Hope. We're going even further than that. We're talking about before the Jedi as we know them, before the Sith, before the Republic was even a twinkle in the galaxy's eye. We're going back to a time of myth and mystery, to an order of Force users who tried something radical. They didn't pledge allegiance to the light side, but they also didn't completely fall to the dark side either. They tried to walk a tightrope right down the middle. This is a story of the Jedi. So grab your nerdiest pair of glasses, because today we are venturing more than 25,000 years into the past, into the wild, untamed lore of Star Wars legends. We're headed to the planet that basically started it all, a world literally humming with the Force. This isn't the history you learn from Master Yoda. This is where the galactic struggle for balance, or the lack of it, truly began. So our story kicks off here with a classic sci-fi trope. A giant mysterious object around 36,500 years before the Battle of Yavin, and sorry, it was more than one object, it was a fleet of them. A fleet of colossal pyramid-shaped ships called the Thoyor just kind of appeared. They parked themselves on several planets across the galaxy, even on future hotspots like the Wookiee world of Kashyyyk and the soon-to-be spooky rock of Korriban. For generations, they just sat there, the galaxy's biggest and most enigmatic lawn ornaments. Then, one day, they just woke up. The Thoyor sent out a galaxy-wide invitation through the Force, summoning the most Force-sensitive folks from each world. You had warriors, scientists, artists, you name it. If you had the Force, you got the call. The chosen few from numerous species boarded ships for the ultimate mystery tour. The fleet of smaller Thoyor traveled to the deep core, where they all met up with a ninth absolutely massive Thoyor waiting for them. Together they landed on a single vibrant planet, a world so strong with the Force it practically vibrated, and this planet's name was Tython. These pilgrims, brought together by mysterious power for a mysterious purpose, became the first Tythons. They weren't Jedi yet, but they were the seeds from which the order would grow. They were one of the earliest well-documented organized Force orders in the galaxy, and on this volatile planet, they were about to get a crash course in the nature of the Force. So, a bit about Tython. It isn't exactly a vacation spot. The planet was so saturated with the Force that it had a bit of a temper. If the Force users on the planet leaned too much to the light side, the planet would throw a fit. We're talking about biblical level storms, earthquakes, and general mayhem. To survive, the newcomers had to live in perfect balance. It was less a philosophy and more of a homeowners association rule with a kind of extreme sort of penalties. Luckily, they had a great visual aid. Tython had 2 moons. The first moon was Ashla, a brilliant shining moon, and Bogon, a dark, shadowy one. These became the perfect symbols for the 2 sides of the Force. They named the light side Ashla and the dark side Bogon. But And this is the important part. They didn't see one as good and the other as evil. To them, they were parts of a whole. You can't have a coin with only one side, right? This is how the Jedi Order was born. And their code was a world away from the Jedi one we know. It went kind of something like this. There is no ignorance, there is only knowledge. There is no fear, there is power. I am the heart of the Force. I am the revealing fire and light. I am the mystery of darkness, in balance with chaos and harmony, immortal in the Force. This wasn't about giving the dark side a big hug, though, but about acknowledging its existence. To a Jedi, anger could be a very useful tool, but you couldn't only be angry. Peace was great for clarity, but being too passive meant you'd never get off the couch. This whole idea was baked into their training. If Jedi got a little too self-righteous or preachy, too much light, they were sent to the dark moon of Bogon to get in touch with their emotions. If they started brooding and listening to sad space emo rock, they got to take it to the bright moon of Ashla to chill out. It wasn't punishment, it was a recalibration of cosmic therapy session to find your center. For about 10,000 years, the Jedi Order developed in relative isolation. Their society was built around their 9 Tho-Yor, which they had converted into temples, by the way, each dedicated to a different aspect of the Force. You had the science geeks at Anil Kesh, the history buffs at Kaleth, and the martial arts masters at Stav Kesh. Maharakesh was the hospital, and overseeing it all was the big one, Karkesh, the Temple of Balance itself. Their entire society was a complex machine designed to study, use, and live in harmony with the Force. Their ranks were more nuanced than just your average master. What would happen is they would have students that called journeyers that would travel between the temples. Jedi Rangers would patrol through the system and act as protectors. And then at the very top you would have the Jedi Masters that guided the entire order. For a while, they were the guardians of a peaceful, hidden system, blissfully unaware that the rest of the galaxy was, well, the galaxy. That blissful ignorance came to a screeching halt approximately in the year 25793 BBY. The Party Crashers were a delightful bunch known as the Rakatan Infinite Empire. The Rakatan were a cruel, powerful species who built their empire using technology powered by the dark side. Think of them as the galaxy's first mega jerks. This was the Sith before the Sith were even a thing. They basically loved to enslave entire species as they thought that they were the dominant force. Their nastiest bunch of people were what they called Force Hounds, right? And these were the Force-sensitive kidnapped from conquered worlds and twisted into being the Rakatan's loyal hunting dogs, sniffing out new Force-rich planets for the Empire to literally devour. And when you know it, one of their top hounds, a man named Zesh, I think I'm pronouncing that right, his name is spelled Xesh, but basically he was sent to find a legendary, powerful world hidden deep in the core. That world was Tython. When Zesh's ship crash-landed, his raw, dark side power ripped through the planet. It triggered one of the worst force storms in Tython's history and screamed a single, terrifying message to the Jedi. We are not alone. The arrival of Zesh and the news of a big, bad, dark side empire threw the Jedi into total chaos. They had no idea what to do about this. It sparked a civil war known as the Force Wars, which was really a massive, deadly philosophical argument. The core question was, how do you fight pure darkness when your entire religion is based on balancing it? Not killing it, balancing it. One side argued that to beat the Rakata, they had to fight fire with fire. They believed it was time to fully unleash Bogon. the dark side of the Force and use anger and aggression to win. The other faction was absolutely horrified by this. They saw the Rakata as living proof of what the dark side can actually do to a person. They argued the only way to win was to embrace Ashla, the light side, and completely reject the dark side entirely. Which is basically how the Sith got born in the first place. These two philosophical arguments is what birthed the Jedi and the Sith. The central pillar of their 10,000-year-old society, balance, had just kind of snapped. Then nobody was arguing for balance. The debate quickly turned into a brutal planet-scarring war. Jedi fought Jedi. Followers of the light battled followers of the dark, and Tython, caught in the middle of this massive imbalance, was literally tearing itself apart. Now, for 10 long years of the Force Wars, both sides fought for the very soul of their order. Now, in the end, the followers of the light side actually won, but it wasn't much of a party. They had seen firsthand what the unchecked dark side could actually do, and it absolutely terrified and horrified them. The Force Wars had convinced them that their ideal of balance wasn't just difficult, it was dangerously naive. The dark side wasn't a tool to be managed, it was a cancer to be completely cut out. So, standing in the ruins of their civilization, they made a choice that would echo for the next 25,000 years. They threw out the entire Jedi philosophy of balance itself, and they dedicated themselves only to the light side, to Ashla, and to cast off their old name. They became, simply after that, known as the Jedi. This was the true birth of the Jedi Order as explained previously, a philosophical revolution born from the trauma of war. The surviving Jedi, who clung to the dark side, were defeated and exiled, becoming the first of the very dark Jedi. So the brand new order, now deeply distrustful of Tython's volatile nature, abandoned their shattered homeworld. They eventually settled on the planet Ossus, ready to join the larger galactic stage and the newly forming Galactic Republic. The defeated Darksiders scattered to the unknown regions, a cautionary tale that would haunt the Jedi forever. And just to be clear, this group of exiles is distinct from the later Dark Jedi who would discover the Sith species on Korriban and start that whole mess. That's a story for another time. The legacy of the Jedi is a tragedy, but a massively important one in Jedi history. Their attempt to walk the middle path failed, but that failure is what created the Star Wars galaxy that we recognize. It set up the fundamental conflict of light versus dark that would define for millennia. Now, the story of Star Wars isn't just about light fighting dark, right? It's a story haunted by the memory of a time when some brave and perhaps foolish people tried to hold them both in balance. So what's your take on the Jedi philosophy? Were they right to fight for balance, or was the Jedi right to cast the dark side completely? Was the Jedi basically naive and asking for civil war? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and make sure to hit that subscription button because it's absolutely free. I know that there are YouTubers out there who put some of their best content on Patreon and charge a monthly amount. But I'm not going to do that. I'm never going to do that. Never am I going to get a Patreon and charge you a monthly subscription. So make sure to hit that subscription button so that you can get full access to the channel, which is completely free, and you get that notification when a video drops. See you on the next one, guys, and welcome to Nerdscape.